3, 2, 1, roll the footage. Welcome back, everybody, to the Strategy Sprints podcast. I'm your host, Simon Severino, and my guest today for the second time here is an international keynote speaker specializing in LinkedIn strategies for entrepreneurs, CEO of the highly successful LinkedIn agency Prominence Global. He hosts the world's largest LinkedIn training event. He's also the author of 3 Amazon best-selling books, Social Media Secret Sauce, The LinkedIn Playbook, and Influencer. Welcome, everybody, Adam Houlahan.
Hey, Simon, thank you. It's fantastic to be back with you again. I know we've done this once before, which is fantastic.
Absolutely. In Australia, where you are, it's 5 p.m. If any Australian wants to ask questions about LinkedIn, just put them in the comment. We'll do our best. And here in Europe, it's very early in the morning. So good morning, good evening, everybody. And Adam, what are you currently creating?
Simon, we're working on a new program at the moment. We've literally just launched it, which is really around how you use LinkedIn as a really effective tool to run webinars, and where there's no real cost to the marketing side of things, but you get around about 1,000 people registering to the webinars. So kind of like our events that we run 5 times a year. You kind of talked about it in the introduction. So we're actually showing people how we do that and how they can implement that for themselves.
Webinars on LinkedIn. Is there a LinkedIn feature for that, or do you use other third-party apps?
Yeah, no, third party. It's just how you use LinkedIn to get the audience that want to register for your webinar. So our goal is to get 1,000 people registered for every webinar.
All right, and so tell us more. Who should consider this, and who should not consider this?
Yeah, it's a good question. So you shouldn't consider it if, of course, you have a product or service that is not easily sold through webinars. So generally speaking, the type of people who work with are probably already running webinars, but they're probably running it when they're getting 20, 50, 100 people registering, and they want to really 10x that. So very much in the B2B, obviously is a great space for it. It can certainly be B2C products, but as a general rule, you want a product or service that when people are purchasing that off you, that product or service is at a minimum $3,000 or $4,000, maybe even up to sort of $10,000-$15,000. So it works really well for people who have coaching businesses or a product or service-based businesses. So wherever you have a new client that would continue to work with you over a long period of time, then generally speaking, this is a really good process that would work. And of course, who it's not for, Simon, is people who are not really keen on being face to camera like you and I are right now. So if that's not your thing, then definitely webinars are not for you.
Cool. So we know who is not for, and who is it for? It's B2B, high-ticket businesses, ideally service businesses. And this is exactly the people listening right now. And this is exactly us. So you have our attention. How do we get 1,000 people? I never had 1,000 people in a webinar. How do we get that through LinkedIn? That's amazing.
Yeah. Well, every webinar we run, 1,000 would actually be, we would consider that a fail now. Our last webinar, which was on about 2 weeks ago, I think we had about 1,700 people registered. Our highest ever has been about over 2,300. And so the first thing, Simon, is that of course there is a little bit of pre-work that you have to do. And what that is you have to be positioned on LinkedIn as the market needs to know that you know what you're talking about. So you have to have, for want of a better word, a profile that showcases your authority. It should show that you're not only interested in marketing, that that all you're doing is ever pitching and selling. It's just showing that you have a great profile that is very much focused in a very narrow area of expertise. So when you try to be all things to all people, then it's a very, very hard thing to position yourself as an authority in something. So obviously for me, it's my positioning is around having really good knowledge on how to leverage LinkedIn for B2B businesses, or entrepreneurs who want to really stand out and using LinkedIn as a platform. So that's not hard to do. Obviously, even for you, you got a very good niche on what you guys do and what you deliver to your clients. So it's very easy to portray that position to people. So that's the number one thing you got to have. And then of course you've got to.
So step one is positioning. If our LinkedIn profile right now doesn't have that niche and that proof, then the first thing, we go there, we put something in the banner that shows exactly the one thing we stand for, and some proof, right? Testimonials or authority giving proofs.
Yeah, so the thing that's really important on LinkedIn is recommendations. Mm-hmm. So, and if anyone's watching, if you go to my profile on LinkedIn, you scroll down, have a look at the recommendations. And the thing is that you have to have, it's not a matter of whoever has the most is the most authority. It's not that at all. It's a matter of just having consistent recommendations. So far better that you get one or two new recommendations every month than you need to go and just get 20 all in one go and then not worry about it for another 6 months or a year. I'll give you a classic example. I was talking to somebody today that contacted me and wanted us to help them with some stuff on LinkedIn. I went and had a look at his profile, and he had recommendations, but they were in 2014 and 2015. So that doesn't portray any current sort of, authority. So really, putting up testimonials or things that people have given you in the past, there's nothing wrong with that. Definitely a good thing to do. But on LinkedIn terms, that person has to be connected to you on LinkedIn to leave a recommendation. And of course, they have to obviously be working with you in some capacity, or been to some event you've done, or bought a book you've written, or whatever it might be. But so it's very, very important on LinkedIn to get those recommendations. One of the things that will increase that level of authority very, very quickly.
Wow. And so we should have the recommendation. It's not just the skills and endorsements. It's really people writing, I am on your LinkedIn profile. You have received 414 recommendations and given 39. So that's really something to take seriously.
Well, yeah, as I said, it's not really a matter of he who has the most wins. That's not the most important thing. So don't think you have to have 400 for this to work. You don't. What it is you just got to, when people look through them, that every month there's one or two, or certainly don't judge by me. You only need one or two every month, and then over say 6 months, you think about it. If somebody was really looking at wanting to do something with you, or come to a webinar that you're running, or whatever it is, and they have a look at your profile and they see, if they scroll back every month, one or two people are saying something very positive about you, then that very quickly elevates you in their sort of thinking as to, wow, this person really does know what they're talking about. That's a webinar I want to go to see.
And I never thought about it to ask anybody for recommendations. So because since I'm self-employed, I don't think about really recommendations. The last time I did it was 10 years ago when I was employed. And so what is the tactic to get recommendations? Should we ask for it? Should we just give recommendations and let the rest follow?
Yeah, like it definitely isn't something where you want to do recommendation swaps. Like keeping in mind that everything you put on your profile is very public. So if say, for example, you said, if you leave a recommendation for me, I'll do one for you. And as you can see on my profile, you can see the ones I've left for people and the ones that have been left for me. So it becomes very obvious if, on this side is a recommendation for you, and then on this side is one where you've left one for that exact same person, and they kind of go down the list like that. So don't do that. But what you really do, Simon, is if you're working with somebody and you deliver some really good results for them, and in the process of that, at the right time, you say, think about it like what you're probably doing now with Google reviews. You don't just blast out to everyone who's never even worked with you or done anything with you to leave you a Google review, because why would they? It's the exact same process. You have to have worked with them. You have to have, they have to have come to one of your webinars. They have to have bought one of your books, whatever it is. Or you might have met them in an event and had a great discussion. So yes, you do need to ask for them. People won't, as a general rule, people are not going to just go, I jumped on a call with Simon the other day and that was amazing, I'm going to go and leave him a LinkedIn recommendation. Not many people will do that. But if at the end of that call you said, by the way, if you got some good value out of, let's say you were running a 15-minute strategy call or something like that, and if you said, look, by the way, if you got some good value from that, would you mind just leaving me a recommendation on LinkedIn? And by the way, you can actually send them a request on LinkedIn to leave you a recommendation. So you go in there and do that, and it comes up as a notification on their LinkedIn profile saying, Simon's requested a recommendation, and it just steps them through the process to make it really easy. If you do that, people will, and you have delivered value, then people will have no problem with leaving them for you.
Oh, that I didn't know that. Wonderful. I'm learning so much. So we got our positioning right, step one. What is then step two?
Yeah, so step two is all about content. So LinkedIn is very much a content-driven platform in 2021. Everything that they're doing in the future, there's a new feature coming out. It's in rollout right now. Rollout means that, unfortunately, when LinkedIn lets a new feature be available, they don't just flick a switch and all 750 million of us on LinkedIn get it overnight. They roll it out slowly over a number of months. So it's in rollout right now. It's called creator mode. And essentially what it is, it's going to favor the content creators. You're going to get more traction on LinkedIn if you're creating really good content. So that's it. You've got to be a content creator. The way you position yourself with authority is two-part. There's one is how your profile's set out and those recommendations and things like that. The biggest bang for your dollar, so to speak, is the content you share. So if you're sharing really high quality content, now high quality, I'm not meaning it has to be a high quality video production or anything like that. It's meaning that it's of high value to an audience. So again, staying in a niche. Don't be all over the place. Don't be talking about one thing today and it's a completely different subject the next day. LinkedIn's trying to algorithmically make an alignment between your profile, who you're connecting with, and the content you're creating. So they want to show your content to the right type of people, and they will show it to the right type of people if they can understand, what's the niche or lane that you're in, and who are the people we know on the platform that would be interested in that content. So, Simon, content is very, very important, but it's got to be thought leadership style, highly informative, valued content that people want to interact and engage on the platform. LinkedIn doesn't like any content that takes the viewer off the platform. So don't put links to your blog or website or podcast. It's in the actual post that you do. Now, there's a workaround. There's a way you can get around it. If you really need to put a link in there for people to go and click on, you can put it down in the comments. But and you can do that. There's certainly no problem with that. But if you really create content in a really good way, people will engage on it, and they'll take a next step with you anyway. So yeah. The number two is about you got to become a content creator, and you got to kind of move away from being a marketer towards someone that's of people deem of value. They want to connect with you. They want to follow you because they want to see the insights and the good things that you share.
How does LinkedIn know who else is interested in this? Is it using language recognition? Does it work through tags or through the connections or the clicks?
Yeah, all of the above. So, one is how you set out your profile. So, you've got to be using a few keywords. They're going to use those keywords is one thing. Obviously, using hashtags in your content. So it's aligning that content with a topic. But then there's a really interesting algorithm at play called dwell time. And what dwell time is it's the way that we actually interact with content. So it's very rare that someone will say, go to your profile because they want to go and have a look at the content you're sharing. What they'll do is they'll open up LinkedIn just like they do any other platform, and they'll scroll through the feed. That's how we all look for content, or the high majority of us. Now, dwell time is measuring how fast you're scrolling, and when you stop on some piece of content. So, for example, if say you're scrolling through, you find something you think you might like, catches your attention for some reason, and you stop on it, then the algorithm's going, oh, okay, so Simon's interested in this content because he's actually stopped on it. Out of all the stuff in the feed that we're showing him, he's stopped on this particular thing. So that must be the type of stuff that he's interested in. Now, say, for example, you stopped on it, you had a quick look at it, and then you kind of scrolled on. It's still registered that you had some degree of interest in that. But then, say, for example, the next one you come to, you stop, you read it, you click, read more or see more, which means that you've opened up that post and you've actually had a look at it, or you've watched the video or whatever it is. Then that's the second part of a dwell time in action, where it goes, okay, you not only stopped on this one, you've actually gone to the trouble of reading it, so you must be more interested in this type of content. And then, of course, the third one, the holy grail, is you stop on the content, you open it up, you consume it, and then you like or comment on it. Once you do that, it goes, right, we know this is the stuff that Simon likes. So over time, they kind of work that out, and then they'll start to feed you with more of that type of content. So yeah, it's a bit convoluted and it gets a bit technical at times, but that's kind of how it works.
And formats of content, are articles more impactful than posts?
No.
Or live?
Yeah. Interestingly enough, the articles probably get the least amount of traction. Any kind of that long form content doesn't get good traction, and because LinkedIn knows that we're consuming bite-sized pieces of content more regularly. So, which is not to say that there isn't a good place for long-form articles. There definitely is, but the high majority of times we're more inclined to stop and read a short, like a post, as you correctly called it, because a post is limited to 1,300 characters of text. You cannot. There's a hard limit. You cannot put more than 1,300 characters. Everything on LinkedIn works word counts, not character count. Sorry, in character counts, not word counts. But as a ballpark average, 1,300 characters is about 210, 220 words. So it's short, it's punchy. That's the type of the stuff that people want to consume. Or video, of course, is very good, but videos need to be short as well, like under 2 minutes. We know, from doing this for a long time, that once you go beyond about 2 minutes on a video, unlike YouTube, where you go to YouTube and there's plenty of content that's very long form, but people are looking for it on YouTube. You don't tend to go to YouTube and just scroll. You tend to go looking for something specific, which means you'll be okay with watching a longer video. On LinkedIn, you come across it, you become interested in it, but keep them under 2 minutes and you'll definitely get more traction. Lives, as you mentioned, really interesting. Lives are definitely not getting the traction that I think LinkedIn hoped. Some of them do really well, but if it's something like this, what you're doing right now, where you've sort of promoted it in advance, people know about it, then they work well. But if you kind of just jump on LinkedIn and say, "Oh, I'm going to do a live today," and nobody's expecting it, or hasn't been promoted in advance, then it can be a bit tough to get sort of traction on those.
Cool. We have step 1 positioning, step 2 content, and I am super curious about step 3. But before, one word from our sponsors.
Hey, if you love what you are hearing, you will love our free masterclasses. Go grab them at strategysprints.com.
All right, we have the positioning, we have the content, but we are far away from 1,000 people on a webinar. What's step 3?
Well, exactly that. You've got to be letting people know about your webinar coming up. So, of course, there's LinkedIn events, which is very useful. The content that you've been creating, you've got to be. Remember, I said before that you got to not be seen as a marketer. So the difference, what I mean by that, is a marketer will pitch the product or service. A person of authority will pitch a free next step. So, come to like you, with the. What we just shared then, come to your free masterclasses. So people will be more willing to come along and consume one of your free masterclasses than if you said, hey, here's our program that shows you how to double your revenue in the next 90 days. And now, whilst that's a really powerful positioning, the reality is you've got to build more trust and likability in that audience before you pitch that to them. So the difference is don't pitch the end result, which is what a lot of people are doing on LinkedIn and other places as well. Pitch a next step that's of value to people. That's where you start to promote your webinar. And of course, you can do, like I said, you can do LinkedIn events. You can be promoting it in the content you're sharing, and you can be, sending private messages.
So instead of, in our case, instead of saying, "Hey, we can double your revenue, come to this event, and we show you how," what should we say? The one pain point, the one benefit, the first step.
Exactly. So the reality is that whilst doubling someone's revenue in 90 days is a very, very powerful thing that a lot of people would certainly be interested in, if they don't know you well, they haven't consumed any of your content or been in your Facebook group for a period of time or anything like that, then they're going to be, yeah, I kind of heard that before. But if you said, hey, look, I'm going to run this webinar and I'm going to show you these 3 really powerful things that you can take away and implement immediately. And when you do, this is what's going to happen. Then it's like, well, yeah, I'd really like to know how to do that. I really think that'd be interesting. And of course, you're not then obviously giving away the whole, how you help someone double their revenue, but you're showing them that you have the authority. You're showing them they get on that, they see it, they implement it, go, okay, wow, that was really amazing. Okay, so Simon's the real deal. So I really need to talk to him about what's involved in the whole process. So so basically run an event where you solve a problem, not the problem, not the big picture problem, but a problem that your audience could relate to, a problem that they probably have, they're probably experiencing. And then expand on that. Now that you've got their attention, now that you've got, you've shown that you know what you're talking about, you've shown you can get a result, and then they're now more interested in what's the real main step with you.
Super cool. So in our case, it would be break it down to something we can solve in half an hour, like how to improve your website or improve your sales call script or something like that. And if people are listening, how can they break down their big impact into one thing that can be done in a short session, and that will create trust and the want for more conversations and for more work.
That's it. Cool. It's not that hard when you think about it, but it's and then if you do that over enough time, then people get to know that, wow, that these are really good sessions, and not only then do they keep coming back to your sessions, they start to bring their audience, they start recommending it to other people in their communities and whatever. The high majority, when we get 1,000 people, 1,700 plus people on ours, the high majority of them have been invited by someone else, not even us.
And that's interesting. How do you do that? Is it sharing a post or sharing an event? Because I never saw on LinkedIn invite a guest or bring a friend as something that I could click.
No, they're just sharing it with their community. So they'll take the link to the webinar or whatever, however you're sort of giving people that information of how to join, and they're just taking that link and sharing it into their communities. They might be sharing it with, they might write their own post about it. They might share a post that you've done about it. They might put it onto, into their Facebook community or their LinkedIn group or whatever it is, that they'll start to become what we call advocates for you. So because you've delivered great value to them, remember, not every single person that comes onto your webinar is necessarily going to buy from, far from it, or are going to be the ideal type of client for you. But if you still deliver value to them, then they're very inclined to want to share that with their communities. They go, wow, I've got this great value from this. I want to share this and let other people know about it. And then it just starts to snowball into this. Now, there's a bit of a process to making all that happen, and you can't do it overnight. You can't build authority overnight. But once you implement each of the steps of this, then once it's in place, like ours, we run 5 webinars a year. Every single one of them has well over 1,000 people attending every time, and the very high majority of them didn't even get invited by us. They're invited by other people.
And so you'll have over 1,000 people there. Let's say 100 are very interested in continuing the conversation with you. Where do they send you? What's the call to action? How do you follow up with them?
So it's a really good question. So what we do is we'll have a questionnaire. We don't sell anything on the webinar. We don't say, hey, here it is, go and sign up, and you've got to put in your credit card detail right now. We don't do any of that. I'm sure you've all seen those webinars, but in ours, we just go, look, here's the big picture problem we solve. This is how we solve it. This is how that all works. If that's of interest to you, here's a little questionnaire we've got, which will give us more intel on, whether this is a good fit for you. So just go in. It'll only take you 2 minutes to fill it out. And of course, that they fill that out, and then that comes back to our team, and they assess it. And then they reach out and say, hey, Simon, thanks for filling that out. Based on your question, how you answered the questions, yes, we think this particular program, because we have multiples of them, this particular program might be worth you considering. Do you want to book in a time, and we'll have a one-to-one chat about it? And so we move those 100 into filling out a questionnaire. And 100 people might think they're interested, but when they sort of delve deeper into it, they might find, okay, this is not necessarily what I kind of thought it was. So what we don't want to do, we don't want to end up with 100 conversations where half of those people really aren't, it's not a good fit for them. So we vet it in that process. We make sure that we allow people to deselect themselves, so to speak. They go, okay, I was interested, but now I can see a bit more, and yep, that's not for me. Or they go, okay, yep, based on all that, I tick all those boxes. I'm definitely interested. Then we know we have a better quality conversation with less people, but people who really then fully understand, what it's about. And of course, so the next step of them entering into the programs is far higher.
Beautiful. And I have to ask you, who do you pick for the strategy award?
Oh, okay. So based, as you shared, I'm based in Australia, and there's a guy here. It's through, we all know last year was pretty crazy, but he did some amazing stuff on not only on LinkedIn, just in general. And his name's Dr. David Dugan. And he's based in Brisbane, and following him and some of the stuff he shares, especially if you're in business, doesn't matter, B2B, B2C. He really sort of helped a lot of people last year and continues to do so this year. So he gets my vote for the award.
Super cool. And 3 books that shaped you most.
So one I've just finished, which I'll share with you, but I read a really, really good book last year called Will It Make the Boat Go Faster? and it's written by an ex Olympian called Ben Hunt Davis. And again, if you're in business, that is why I got so much value out of that book. I would highly, highly recommend that one. It's fantastic. So, Will It Make the Boat Go Faster by Ben Hunt Davis. Another one was, which I actually read a couple of years ago now, but it's called The Road Less Stupid by Keith Cunningham. Bit of a classic. I'm sure lots of people have read that one. But the one that is absolutely a game changer, which I've literally only just finished very, very recently, that's why it's still sitting very close to me, is this one here. It's called Someone Has to Be the Most Expensive by Andrew Griffiths. And Andrew, again, is an Australian author. He's the most successful small business author in Australia. And absolutely amazing book, well worth a read.
Super cool. And what are you excited about in terms of what's happening on LinkedIn looking forward?
I think this new feature that I was sharing a little bit about earlier called Creator Mode, we've known for a long time, and our whole business has been designed around helping people create this really high quality content in a way LinkedIn likes, and Creator Mode is just putting even more importance on that. So yes, some people probably already have access to it, but once it's fully rolled out, I think it's definitely going to make a massive difference to what people are doing on LinkedIn in the second half of 2021.
Super cool. And who should be my next guest?
Okay, so I think there's another guy based in Singapore. He by the name of Paul Dunn, and he's one of the founders and chairman of an organisation called B1G1, which is a business. It's a movement that's basically helps small to medium businesses to really position themselves with authority and impact through their social causes. And absolutely amazing guys. 4-time TEDx speaker. One of the most dynamic speakers I've ever seen. So Paul Dunn is the man.
Beautiful. And so, people, if you have any questions about LinkedIn, if you are a service business, high ticket B2B, want to improve your LinkedIn game, Adam Houlahan is the man. And where can people find you best? Where should they stick around?
Well, LinkedIn obviously is one place, or you can just go to my personal website, which is adamhoulahan.com. And either of those two places you'll find me, and more than happy to just reach out and say, hey, I was on the session with Simon, and happy to answer any questions you have or any help you need.
Thank you so much, Adam, for being again on the show and bringing so much value. It's a full checklist of what we all can do right now. And thank you so much. Please come back soon.
My pleasure. Love to do it again.
Hey, if you like the tools, go grab them for free at strategysprints.com/tools.